Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here in June. I'm very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Hello, and welcome back to Big Mouth. And if you're feeling charitable, please subscribe to the channel if you're brand new. Please hit the like button, and you can find me on Twitter at MoviesTVMad. If you're feeling charitable, that is. If you're not, don't worry about it. So welcome to Wednesday's edition of the dceu Daily, and today I want to review the animated movie Superman Red Sun. Yes, the DC Superman animated movie. And, you know, I've never read Superman Red Sun. After that, I want to talk about the Batman and how I believe it's literally Batman Year 1 to 3, because believe it or not, Batman Year 1 isn't actually a very big, long story. So it wouldn't, I mean, they could add bits and extend it in other ways. I mean, I suppose Batman Begins really is, in a lot of ways, Batman Year 1, but with different elements to it. So we'll be talking about that. But first, let's review Superman Red Sun. So I watched this yesterday. What a movie this is. And yes, as I said, I have never read the graphic novel Superman Red Sun. It goes to show you what you can do with Superman when you have an imagination, instead of saying, well, Superman's really hard to write. No, Superman isn't hard to write. Superman Red Sun gives Superman a great story, a great element, and I tell you what, I'd probably love to read more Superman Red Sun graphic novels. It's a very interesting story. It probably is a lot more interesting and then his counterpart that arrives in America and is America's Superman. Not that I don't like that original vision of it, and it's great, but this is so more. There's so many dimensions, so many more dimensions to this version of Superman. So basically, instead of his rocket ship arriving in Kansas, America, it arrives in Russia, but we don't see him as a baby. We see him as a teenager at first, and he's running away from three or four bullies, and his high school friend, or I suppose sweetheart, Lana, you get it? They're playing with the name Lana, right? So she's Lana in this one, and she's basically protecting him from the bullies. She punches one of them out, so they run away. And so she goes, look, you cannot keep on running away from bullies. You've got to face your fears. He goes, I'm not running away because I'm afraid. I'm running away because I don't want to hurt them. And this is a great parable in the narrative of this story. This is a beautiful moment, because when you see what happens in the rest of the film, in the rest of the story, it's pretty amazing, because he does the opposite thing when he becomes older. So literally, obviously, he becomes part of really the Russian government. The president, whose name I forgot, is a very big historical figure as well. I think it's Stalin. I think it's Stalin anyway. So he's literally somehow been brought up by Stalin, or he calls Stalin father. It is Stalin. I can't remember his name, but it doesn't matter. So basically, he is this symbol for Russia. He protects the Russian people. He helps build buildings. So he's basically the hero of Russia. And Russia literally introduced him to the rest of the world, so they know not to mess with Russia. So this is part of the Cold War. This is when Russia and America don't like each other. Not that they like each other very much these days. And it's an amazing story. But he does go to America. This is an Elseworld story. This is not as well as a story in another, I suppose it is in another universe, but it's not set in the same universe. So he does go to Metropolis. He does meet Lois Lane, but this is a different Lois Lane. This is Lois Lane Luthor, but she doesn't like being called Luthor, and she sees that as being an appendage, right? So this is the same type of Lois Lane. Now, a few people have said they changed a few elements to the graphic novel, not knowing that from not reading the graphic novel myself. But I think some of the men bashing by Lois and Wonder Woman, aka Diana Prince, is in this film, and she plays a brilliant role in it. But I thought Lois was pretty good when she wasn't going for the men thing, but she was a pretty good character in this, and her relationship with the Russian version of Superman was pretty interesting. And although Lex Luthor is a nemesis kind of to Superman in this story, he isn't a bad guy, and even ends up being kind of a hero. And he does even, take over from President Kennedy and becomes a president in the end. It really is, as I say, it's a story of varieties, and it's a very compelling story. So when he finds out, Lois Lane gives this version of Superman, and he's just called Superman. There's no Clark Kent or whatever what they could have called him in Russia. He's Superman, right? And what they do, there's no Russian in this story. It's broken English, basically, in a Russian accent, which I think is brilliant. And I think the American voice actors did such a good job, especially Jerry O'Connell, is it? One of the great actors, by the way. He's been around for years as well. And so he finds, Lois gives Superman a dossier about what Starling's been up to. I swear it's not Starling, but it doesn't matter, does it? Anyway, so he sees it. He finds all these slaves, these working class people, where the Russian government are using them as slaves. So Superman goes mad. But he also finds Svetlana there, his childhood sweetheart, and she's dying. And he carries her, and she dies in his arms. So Superman goes to see Starling. Starling tells him it's all true, and he was just trying to protect him. And Superman uses his heat vision and kills the Russian premier, right? So this is the beginning. So Superman literally becomes the premier of Russia. He's now running Russia in his own way, but he's still a dictator. And what he does later on is Brainiac invades Russia, but when he tames Brainiac, he uses his technology to control all his people, right? So they're obedient. And he calls it for their own safety. So there's a lot of commentary in this. Look, it's an amazing story, especially when we see what's happening in the United States of America right now with Trump. What's going on with Brexit. How the far right have utilized and manipulated people. Now, obviously, we're talking about communist Russia, not the far right. And communism is an interesting concept because in its purity, it has its heart's in the right place. It believes that everyone should work for the good of each other rather than the individual. So instead of me buying a laptop and a TV, my money would go to the whole country kind of thing. So in its concept, it's got a good core, but as usual, these things get corrupted by these dictators. And this is what happened. This is what happened with communist Russia. I think, having a country where everyone works for each other and everyone puts in the pot. Do you remember the sitcom Bread? That's what communism really is, isn't it? But what happened with Moscow and Russia, it became corrupt, and it wasn't really about communism anymore. It was about something else. So when you go to America, and this is how they used fear to get the young soldiers to help them invade Vietnam. They said the communist insurgents were taking over Vietnam. Of course, none of it was true. Anyway, back to the film, getting a bit political there. So basically Superman becomes this dictator. Superman's heart is in the right place. He just doesn't get it. And so what happens is one of the most amazing moments, because I didn't know this was happening, we get a Russian version of Batman. But he's a rebel. He's a rebel against Superman. He explodes this building, right? This historical museum or something, and people are in it. So he's part of the rebellion. And you get this great moment when he abducts Wonder Woman and he uses her own lasso of Heslin against her. Is that what they call it, right? So she has to obey him. So she lures Superman to this trap. And Batman kicks the crap. Let's call him Russian Batman. Kicks the crap out of Superman, and it is amazing. And in the end, what happened, this is an amazing moment because he gets all the lights of the red sun, which hurts Superman. He becomes weak. Batman kicks the crap out of him, chucks him in this hole full of red lights as well, so Superman can't escape. Ultimately, Wonder Woman does escape. She does free Superman, and Russian Batman literally shoots himself and blood goes all over. Yes, blood goes all over Diana and Superman. But Diana is not happy with Superman and she goes back to Themyscira. But there's a lot more to the thread between Superman and Wonder Woman. Let me tell you that. It is brilliant. It starts off where I like the bit when Superman goes to kiss her and she goes, well, I come from an island full of women. What do you think? Obviously, she's trying to say she's gay, that she's a lesbian. He goes, listen, I only kissed you because I thought I had to. And he goes, I'm not looking for a partner like that. I'm looking for a friend. So Superman believes what he's doing is a peaceful thing. As I say, both Superman's and Lex Luthor's roles in this film ultimately are guys with their hearts in the right place. But this is how dictators start. But Lex Luthor certainly isn't a dictator. I would say he's more of a Democrat than a Republican in this story. It's interesting, and I suppose he's the comparison to this kind of dictator that Superman becomes. But this is really a unique story. And as I say, you've never seen a more complex version of Superman in your life. Now, I think if Todd Phillips grabbed hold of this story to make it his next story in his Black Label, continue from what he did in The Joker, I think it would be an amazing live-action movie. No, I don't think because it's just been done in animation you couldn't do it. I think Todd Phillips would do such and it's political, it's controversial, it's exactly what the creatives these days want to do. Joker was political and controversial as well, and it worked because it was a great movie first and foremost. Here's the thing, if you want to do political commentary, at least make the movie worth the watch. Do you know what I mean? But Superman Red Son is a really good, compelling look at Superman being born into power, because Superman may be the last son of Krypton. When he comes to Earth, he may have all these superpowers, but when he's brought up by Ma and Pa Kent, they teach him values, different values actually. And when he's brought up in Russia, he's obviously, now we don't see their version of Martha and Jonathan, but he's clearly brought up with different, I suppose, communist values. So, because this is the thing about children, isn't it? That I've worked with so many children. I've got like 10 nephews and nieces. And one thing I know about kids, their brains are like sponges. And whatever you tell them as children, it soaks in and they experience everything. And I really feel bad for kids when they experience arguments and stuff because it's all in there. Or if you're arguing, it's horrible. So this is what happens to kids. We pump them full of our pathetic, stunted ideas. And then what's going to happen to them? Pretty obvious, really, isn't it? So, and this is the tragedy of what happens to Superman. But this is just such a compelling story. And I'm sure there's things I've forgotten because I've only seen it once and I'm going to rewatch it. But as I say, Todd Phillips, you should grab hold of this. This is the way to do Superman. He's complex. He's multi-layered. It is brilliant. It is amazing. And I like the end bit when they think, because what happens in the end, Brainiac's been fooling Superman all this time. He hasn't been helping him. He's been waiting. He's been trying to manipulate Superman all this time to invade America. And Superman won't do it because he'll have to kill millions of people. So this is what I'm saying. Deep down, Russian Superman is still a good guy. But ultimately, Brainiac reveals that this has just all been a trick and he wanted to do this. He wanted to destroy America. So Superman and Lex Luthor unite together. They defeat Brainiac. But when Brainiac's defeated, this kind of countdown timer is ignited. Basically, Brainiac's about to self-destruct. So Superman, what his ship is. So Superman sacrifices himself and he takes the ship to space and it blows up. So we all think Superman's dead. But in the end, in the crowd, as Lex Luthor is making his final speech before he steps down as president, you can see Clark. Well, he's not Clark Kent, obviously, but he's got the hat, he's got the suit, and he's got the glasses. And only Lana has spotted him in the crowd. So I'm assuming, and they don't do this, but I'm assuming a Russian kind of version of Clark Kent is now going to work in the Daily Planet. But guess who takes over from Lex Luthor as president? Jimmy Olsen. Yeah, Jimmy Olsen is like Lex Luthor's best friend, vice president, while he's president. So Jimmy Olsen is here. You don't see him do very much, but at least he's more of an important member of, I suppose, the kind of the cast, which I really like. But I always feel that Jimmy Olsen is like you or me, Superman's best friend, like the companion in Doctor Who. And if you did Jimmy Olsen properly in a Superman movie, he would be so relevant and relatable. Superman Red Sun is a 10 out of 10 movie. Not only is this a good story, don't forget they've adapted this story, not come up with it themselves, but Sam Liu has done it again. I personally believe the last few entries before Superman Red Sun have been very tame, mediocre and watered down. They've been okay, but Sam Liu's production and directing talents have always been there. And Sam Liu is back again. His directing, the way he's coached the voice actors is absolutely fantastic. It looks great. It's just a great A+, 10 out of 10 movie. And if you're a big Superman fan, if you're a DC fan or even a superhero fan or just someone who enjoys watching this stuff, go and watch it. It's well worth it. And I really enjoyed it. And I'll be watching it again and again. After all, I'm a big Superman fan. And this is about Superman. And what a way to do Superman. You see, it doesn't matter where he's brought up. In the end, Superman will always be a hero because he's totally the best. Now we move on to the Batman and my theories. Now we've spoken about how his costume seems to be put together by different elements, bits and pieces. It's very patchy. Now the Rogue Elements have released this Monica have jumped on this, tried to make it negative. Some kind of YouTube channel or Watch Mojo or someone, right, has tried to do a video saying 10 reasons why the on-set pics and vids of the Batman means trouble for the movie. Look, there's going to be a lot of negative propaganda. You need to ignore it. You've seen nothing but a few, on-set moments, right? You don't know what's going on. It's out of context, just like it was with the Joker. And people tried to criticize the Joker. Forget about it. We know the agenda, but here's my theory about the Batman. Let's get excited for this film. For crying out loud, right? Not only have we got the Batman next year, we've got a Suicide Squad movie directed by James Gunn. And I forgot about this the other day till someone reminded me. We're actually getting King Shark in a Suicide Squad movie. And who better to do that but James Gunn? We've got one of the best versions of the Doctor, aka Doctor Who, Peter Capaldi, playing a mysterious character in the Suicide Squad. Maybe Mr. Freeze. How awesome is that? So please, take your agenda train somewhere else and it can go off another bridge because it's all agenda. It's so transparently about agenda and you're boring me. So the Batman, my theory is that it's not just year one, but it's year 1 to 3. Because year 1, I was reading it the other day actually, and I saw the animated movie, right, by the same team who did Superman Red Sun, by the way. That's obviously great. They've done so many, but it really is a good little movie. But it's a really little self-contained story, and it's very good because it really concentrates on, in a lot of ways, it focuses more on Gordon than Batman. At times you do see Batman become Batman wearing the suit for the first time, so it's there. But Gordon's story arc is freaking amazing. He's not even commissioner yet. He's up against. He arrives in Gotham. He's up against, is it Flask or whatever that corrupt copper's called? They kidnap his baby daughter. It really is good. And it really is an amazing story. And I see now why who they've cast as Gordon in the Batman, because I think they're going to do a similar thing here. Now, I know that Matt Reeves has said it's not necessarily a year 1 story. I think it is. And I think it's not just a year 1 story. That's why he's been a bit inaccurate about what kind of story it is. Listen, you are looking at Matt Reeves as a comic book fan. He knows the comics, right? And I think he's doing Batman year 1 to 2, 1, 2, and 3. I think that's what he's doing, and I think that will be very exciting for him to do, and I think that's what he's doing. There's a lot of members of the Batman family in this movie. And it wouldn't surprise me if we also see I think they're all going to be in this, and people are going to start making accusations of overcrowdedness. It won't be. Matt Reeves is going to get this film right. Matt Reeves is no mug. We know how good Matt Reeves is, right? I haven't got any concerns about this movie. All I've got is excitement. I'm so excited for the future of this franchise. Now, I think it's disgusting what they did to Zack Snyder. We're here every day. We have this discussion every day. But we can't live in the past, and we can still fight for the Snyder Cut. But I'm a DC fan. You see my passion for Superman Red Son. These projects are great when they get them right. And by the way, I think Superman Red Son proves we need Superman front and centre in the live-action universe, because that's how cool he is. But the Batman a year 1 to 3 story, which means many, many elements mixed in, and I think you are going to get probably the first comic book accurate version of Batman. I know we can all argue about Batman versus Superman and him being depicted as an accurate version of I forgot what that story is, when Batman's an older man and he fights Superman because Superman's very with the government at that time and they have a fight. It's taken from that, and I get that, right? And it is accurate in places to that graphic novel, but it does take a life of its own. Obviously, Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman don't fight Doomsday in that story, and it takes a different... In fact, I think Batman v Superman should have been that graphic novel. That would have been amazing, and the name of it kills me, right? But it's literally a story where Batman's an old man and he becomes Batman again, right? And you know the one I mean. So there was some accuracy there, but it wasn't totally faithful to that story. And I think if it was, right, I think a lot more people would have embraced the film. Not that I don't like Batman v Superman and what it did. I just think, and this is what I feel, I think sometimes when you look at comics and say, do you know what? This is a good story on its own. I don't have to copy and paste it, of course. That would be wrong. But there's so many elements, you can embrace most of it. Instead of going away that people are going to reject. So I feel that the Batman is going to be very comic book accurate. And if it is accurate to Batman's years 1 to 3, we've got something very exciting. Look, we have got something very exciting on our hands. We've got the cast, we've got the director. He's written it, he's directing it. It's amazing. And it's very, very exciting. Don't worry about the Suicide Squad. The set's been reopened. It was literally just closed a little bit for one day while James Gunn was mourning his dog. He did have an interesting story, I read. It was, I mean, I had to laugh, and I do have to laugh at these people. He literally said that he used to bring his dog to work. Nothing wrong with that. But he was auditioning someone, and the dog sat on his lap. Now, this woman doesn't like dogs. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Dogs scare the shit out of me, right? So this dog's sitting on this poor woman's lap. She's got a phobia against dogs. So she's nervous. But now he kind of says it, oh, my dog was friendly. He thought everyone would love him. And then he goes, well, she didn't get the role. And I was thinking, are you insinuating you didn't give someone the bloody role because they weren't very friendly to your dog? Not everyone can love dogs, James. Come off it, mate. Come off it. I can't believe that. I love you, James Gunn. I love your Guardians movies. I can't wait for your Suicide Squad movie. But that is totally ridiculous. Anyway, have you seen Superman Red Son? Let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below. What do you think about my theory about the Batman being more comic book accurate from years 1 to 3? Comment down below. Please like, share and subscribe if you are feeling charitable. And I know there's a lot of charitable people out there. Maybe the content isn't very good. It's not done professionally. But hey, help a poor, useless person out. I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you then.